Welcome into Onorato and Onorato. Just one of me this week. Ashley Miller will be part of the show, but she's getting a little bit of deserved time off. We've got a full, stacked show. I'm not wasting any time off the top here. You guys know the deal. It's potentially the two best sports day of the entire year with the NCAA tournament first and second rounds. Oh, by the way, some of those games will be played in Albany. We'll talk about those matchups. I'll give you my Final Four. I'll give you my championship pick as well, and I want to see him too. Comment right along. Give us your Final Four. Give us your champions. Tell me why I'm wrong. We have the star of Hamilton. It's at Proctor's this week. Pierre Jean Gonzalez is on the show. We are going back in time 20 years with Craig Forth, Syracuse center, Columbia High grad, 2003 national champion. Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. Is it finally going to happen? I told you there's no time to waste. Let's go. You're watching Onorato and Company.
This is Onorato and Company, sponsored by Albany House.
Shout out to the good people at Albany House, Amsterdam, Clifton Park, two of their locations. We'll be out in Amsterdam along Route 30 this time next week. Let's dive into it. The brackets are out. We'll get to Aaron Rodgers in a moment. We'll get to an injury at the World Baseball Classic that may shift an entire division in Major League Baseball. But the brackets. And yes, this right now, okay, it's Thursday at 10:02. So if you're watching on TV or you're rewatching this, it's blank now, but it will be filled out. And I will give you my Final Four here very shortly as well. Sam is watching. Good morning, Sam. It's good to see you. Carol is watching. Is this upsetting you? She's talking about Aaron Rodgers. I will get to that, I promise. And I don't think the answer is what you're expecting, if you're asking whether or not I'm really upset about it. Okay, tournament is back in Albany. First time in 20 years. We'll talk with Craig Forth coming up in about 15 minutes or so. Good matchups, too. I think when the brackets were being unveiled, the first couple games were, okay, do we really care about VCU St. Mary's? But when UConn Iona popped up, that was huge. First of all, you get Andre Jackson Jr. from Albany Academy coming back home as a junior at UConn to play in the NCAA tournament. Huge deal. You get Rick Pitino. Are you telling me that 4:30 game on Friday is not just going to be absolutely wild at MVP Arena? It's going to be. So Pitino against Andre Jackson Jr. in the Albany region. I really like the Indiana-Kent State matchup. And another Albany tie here. Kent State's head coach, Rob Senderhoff, is a UAlbany grad. So that's another little 518 connection and hook for you. I really like that game. Drake could beat Miami in the 12-5, one line above that. That should be a really entertaining game. And look, I know people who like VCU to beat St. Mary's. So I think there's the potential for an upset in each of the four games that will be played on Friday. So take that for what it's worth. You're going to tell me, well, upsets happen all the time. Yes, they do. But these are four legitimate opportunities here to see an upset. I am rooting for Andre Jackson Jr. and UConn to make it through this region, or at least get to Sunday. As a local connection, that means more than Rick Pitino. So give me UConn to hopefully make a little bit of noise there. All right, here's my Final Four. I told you there's not enough time in this show to really take deep dives. And if you're watching on TV over the weekend, you don't want to hear me try to predict what's going to happen the 2 days that have already happened. Does that make sense? Okay, my Final Four. Bama out of the South. They're the one overall seed. Give me Alabama. Duke. There aren't too many teams in the country right now as hot as Duke and beating the caliber of competition that Duke has beaten. ACC tournament champs. They're figuring it out, and they're healthy. They're healthy. Roach is healthy. This is a really good team. Shire's done a good job now. They're getting better, right? These young teams get better into February and March. That's what we're seeing with Duke. You can't look at Duke as what they did in November and December. It's what they're doing now, and they're hot. Give me Texas out of the Midwest because I'm I think Sasser's going to play, but I'm not all in on Houston as the 1 seed in that region. So give me Texas. And then I'll take Gonzaga. This is the year for the Zags to go deep, to go to the Final Four. Yes, they've done it before, I know, but people are counting them out. And I don't love Kansas, and I don't love UCLA in the West. So give me the Zags, my Final Four. My national champ, Bama. Bama beats Texas. Bama beats Texas because no other team has Miller. That's why. Not to say that he's Carmelo Anthony in 2003 with Syracuse, but I just don't see somebody finding a way to beat the Crimson Tide when he is always going to be the best player on the floor. So give me Alabama as my national champ. I'll take your Final Fours. I'll take your national champs. Here we go. Ryan McCarthy. Yes. Aaron Rodgers to the Winnipeg Jets. If only, Ryan. If only. See, now let me tell you something, people. Okay, this is the first true day of the NCAA tournament, and Ryan's comment has to do with football. On Carol's mind, it was Aaron Rodgers. And here's Nick, a diehard Bengals fan, and his comment is about his Bengals signing an offensive tackle. Do not tell me that the NFL isn't king. It always is. And we obviously talk multiple things here on this show, but the NFL will always be king. It seems, as long as I'm doing this show. I don't know how much longer that'll be even. But for now, the NFL is king, and it remains to be. All right, we're back in only 30 seconds here. I'm diving into the Aaron Rodgers stuff.
I don't care what kind of stories that's been told on you. That may be a lot of things in life you used to do. If you can't give true love to me, I'll understand. Just do the best you can.
Michelob Ultra, 2.6 carbs and 95 calories.
And now back to Onorato Company, sponsored by Albany House.
All right, here we go. What do we do here? We make dreams come true. Sam's looking for tickets. Tammy says, I have tickets. They'll work it out amongst themselves. But I think that means Onorato Company gets the processing fee, right? Is that how that works? The handling fee, I think, for that? Yeah, okay. All right, let's get into the Aaron Rodgers stuff here. And you know what? I have to do this. I have to go dirty, difficult, done.
And now, dirty, difficult, and done. Sponsored by Performance Industrial.
Great crew up there. Bill Miller, Sean Wilcoxon. I am done with all the Aaron Rodgers hate. Done. Packers fans hating on him. Jets fans hating on him. NFL fans overall hating on him because they say he's taking too long to make a decision. Let me tell you something, Jets fans. And let me tell you something, Packers fans, okay? There is a very good chance we miss, and I'll put the we in here, we miss Aaron Rodgers before too long. I don't know that you're going to roll from one Hall of Famer Favre to another Hall of Famer Rodgers to another Hall of Famer Jordan Love. Yes, the Colts went Manning to Luck. How's that gone since Andrew Luck retired? I'm not doubting Jordan Love right now. I'm doubting the odds that any franchise is going to string together back-to-back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks. You eventually hit a quarterback desert, and you get desperate trying to find one in the draft. Now, I hope Green Bay has done what was smart 13 years ago, longer than that now, when they drafted Aaron Rodgers, much longer ago than that now. And I hope that they were looking ahead to the future and saw the potential in Jordan Love that ends up being a Hall of Fame type of career. And I hope he wins more than one Super Bowl. That's where a lot of the hate comes from. Well, he only won one. Let me tell you something, Jets fans. If he gets you one, and that's it, and then you don't win again for another 15 years, you will be elated. Admit it. And for all of the off-field distractions. There's nothing illegal going on with him, okay? People say he's a little too free of a spirit or maybe just too into himself. Okay, fine. But if I were a Jets fan, and I know plenty of them, my brother is one, you should be thrilled that Aaron Rodgers is going to be your quarterback. He's one of the best quarterbacks of all time, despite not having multiple rings, and that's why he doesn't get into the conversation with the Bradys and Mannings and maybe Elways of the world, okay? Montana. But from a skill level standpoint, you cannot deny Aaron Rodgers' talent. Here's what he said on the Pat McAfee show. I made it clear my intention was to play for the New York Jets. Now, Rodgers on Wednesday this past week said it was Friday that he made the decision. And that is up to the Packers at this point to get it done. And he's not the one dragging his feet, he says. Packers want to make sure the compensation is fair, and I don't blame them. What's the rush? If we all know it's done, if the Jets know it's done, the Packers know it's done, Rodgers knows it's done, Zach Wilson knows it's done, what's the rush? Jordan Love knows it's done. They'll work it out. Everybody just relax. Okay? My gosh. This is where I feel like maybe New York is doing too much. It feels like a LeBron James situation when he went back to Cleveland and when he went to LA. Rodgers reportedly gave the Jets a wish list. Jets have already signed Allen Lazard, 4 years, $44 million. Odell Beckham Jr. is on the list, Randall Cobb, Mercedes Lewis. Wants to play with some of his buddies. That doesn't always work. Working with your buddies, playing with your buddies just doesn't always work. It might work here, but it feels like the Jets are doing a little too much at this point to try to make sure Aaron Rodgers is happy. It didn't work with Lazard, Cobb, and Lewis last year. They're just a year older. Well, Lazard's not an old guy, but Cobb and Lewis are at the end. OBJ's coming off the ACL. I think he has a ton of potential still in him. But can they make that happen with the cap? They're already trying to shed salary to get Rodgers in under the cap. Just feels like maybe a little too much for Aaron Rodgers. Now that we know he's going to the Jets, it will happen at some point. Where do the Jets rank? Not better than the Chiefs. Don't think they're better than the Bengals. I'm not sure they're better than still third in their division. Love what Miami's done so far this offseason. Love it. If Tua's healthy, they're the best team in the division. And are the Bills still better than the Jets? Maybe. So you make this move to become the fifth best team in the conference? Sixth? I don't know. And do we trust Rodgers' postseason track record to get in and then win? I don't think I do. That hurts me to say it. Believe me. All right, I've got to jump out here. When we come back on Onorato Company, we're going 20 years back to 2003 with our guy Craig Forth, former Syracuse center, former Columbia High center, and forever a national champion. Back right after this on Onorato Company.
Marcella's Appliance Center, our commitment is to you, providing essential appliances that families depend on for cooking, refrigeration, cleaning, and sanitation, plus appliance repair. You can have peace of mind that Marcella's is here for you today and every day, like we have been since 1957, helping you make the right choice with trusted brands like Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, and many more. Shop Marcella's Appliance Center in-store, online, or by phone. We're here for you.
Whether you're into lounging, cruising, or just relaxing, summer fun starts with Alpenhaus. Enjoy a smooth ride that'll change the way you boat forever on a Barletta pontoon powered by Mercury Outboard. Nobody makes a more reliable, powerful lineup of outboard motors than Mercury to continue propelling your adventures. Now's the perfect time to buy a new Barletta pontoon with the legendary performance of a Mercury outboard. Alpenhaus, Route 30, Amsterdam, and alpenhausboats.com.
And now back to Onorato Company, sponsored by Alpenhaus.
Back on Onorato Company, it's Chris and Ash at home.
You pointed at me.
Oh my gosh, I did. Yeah.
Chris
and Ash at home. It's been a little bit of a long week. We're getting ready for the madness. And what better way 20 years after the Syracuse National Championship that came through Albany. The tournament is back in the 5-1-8. And so who better to talk to than the guy who is from the 518
Exactly.
and came back home to win that championship with the Orange on their way to the Final Four out of the Albany region. It's Craig Forth. Let's bring him into the conversation here on Onorato and Company. Craig, man, thank you for doing the show. It's been a while since I've seen you. It was fun to catch up and text a little bit. We appreciate you taking the time here, man, and the trip down memory lane we're about to take. But I will just share with you, Ashley and I got married not even 2 years ago, and yet she still says the best day of her life was that April day in 2003 when your Orange won the national championship, man. How's that make you feel?
Deeply honored. Just one of those things that you don't expect to hear when you meet somebody, after 20 years. But I would say that it feels really, really good. Thank you so much, Ashley.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, that's a little bit of an exaggeration. I always say
No,
it was
don't lie.
one of the
Don't lie.
best days of my life. Our wedding day was great too.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on the new marriage.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. 20 years, dude. I'm sure it doesn't feel like 20 years, or does it?
It depends on the day. Depends on the day. Depends on whether the right knee hurts or the left knee hurts. It's one of those things where I'll have a dream about it one night and I won't think about it for a week, and then it'll come rushing back. So it's hit or miss with me. What I think about with the championship, who I remember, I'll remember something along the lines like Queth Duaney making a speech, or Jim Boeheim at a halftime, or something like that. But 20 years has flown, and it definitely, in my mind, I'd say that I could still go back out there and do it, but my body would 110% say, no, sir, you should sit.
Craig, if for those of you who don't know, went to Columbia High School, Columbia grad. I was at Shaker somewhat around the same time as you were at Columbia, a few years behind you. And then I was at Syracuse a few years behind you after that. But Craig, we were talking about today, the craziness that Albany having the first and second rounds back here. It seems like it's just absolute madness. I can't imagine. I said I would sell like an arm and a leg to see Syracuse play in a regional here in Albany. Like, it will never happen again. No. But the fact that you guys were able to you came home to play and you were able to turn that into a national championship run is probably something that no one will ever have in their career that you have.
Yeah, I can't say it's not unfamiliar to other universities, but you're absolutely right. We basically went through Boston, then we came here, and then we went to New Orleans. And the entire way, all four games up here in the Northeast felt like home games. There was all Orange. There's a huge following of Syracuse up here, as you guys both well know. And it's just been, at that point, it was kind of surreal, because you walk into it's typically places that are not the Carrier Dome. And it's one of those things where, you're expecting to be booed. You're expecting to be heckled. You're expecting to have an opposing side to things. And we're playing Oklahoma State. I think the most cheering we had was against Manhattan.
Because they were close.
Yeah, because they're pretty close.
Yeah.
But they don't have anywhere near the following that Syracuse had. And then every other team that we played with, Oklahoma State, Auburn, and Oklahoma, we're taking their tickets and giving them to our family members. And it's a sea of orange everywhere we went. And the Pepsi was a heck of a lot better than the Boston Arena, but either way, that whole road was just an absolutely fantastic run. And, you really felt like you were home as a player.
I wrote them down because I wanted to know, can Craig Forth name each team that they beat on that run? I kind
How have I done so far?
You nailed it. Texas is the only one in the Final Four, and I knew you would know that one, obviously. Yeah. Quick thing about Craig, for people who don't know, and they should, Warwick gets a lot of love for blocking that Michael Lee attempted three. Melo gets a ton of play for being, obviously, the tournament player, the player of the tournament. And obviously, everybody gives him a lot of the credit. GMAC had 6 threes in the first. This guy had the first bucket that night against Kansas. And you were fouled, I might say. Not
on the first bucket, but later on.
You should have gotten the whistle. You should have gotten the whistle.
No, I'm pretty sure the only reason I got the ball was because I was wide open. But let's be totally real.
I'm going to be honest. I watched it back on YouTube. There was a lot of contact. You were open, and I think it was Mello who found you.
He does. Yep.
But there was contact on the layup, Craig. Take what I'm giving you here, man.
Oh, well, thank you. So I got clobbered. And it was one of those situations where, I got up and I tried to shoot. I was asking for free throws, but I couldn't see the basket with my black eye. I remember this vividly. Yes.
There you go.
Craig, 20th anniversary. We've talked about it. It seems like it was yesterday. I was a 17-year-old teenager. Was I a junior? I think I was a junior in high school. But at the time, I have always been a huge Syracuse fan. I was dead set on going there. So I remember watching it in what was my downstairs. These games are so late at night. So my parents were like, yeah, of course, stay up. Me and my dad like screaming, but also trying not to scream because my mom was asleep upstairs. So it was like, you're winning a national title and I'm going crazy, but my mom's asleep upstairs. So I have to be quiet. Either way, Jim Boeheim is synonymous with obviously the one national title, but we talk about him as he is Syracuse basketball. He has created essentially this program and taken it to the heights that it has. For him to retire, what are those emotions like for you? And can you give us a glimpse into some of your time with Boeheim, like a favorite memory or a maybe not so favorite memory with Coach B?
Well, I can definitely say, having heard the announcement, I heard it actually. There was a 20-year anniversary get together out in Syracuse last week that I was not able to attend, unfortunately. But having heard it, I actually heard it through a group chat with the entire national championship team. So that was who broke the news to me that Coach Boeheim was leaving his position. Since then, obviously the news goes crazy, and this conspiracy theory, that conspiracy theory, there's little things that all go out, whatever, that are absolutely ridiculous. But the bottom line is the man is a legend. He's been out there 47 years. He's 78 years old. He's I guarantee if you gave him a ball and a clipboard next year, he'd walk right back on the court anywhere. Whether it was just a CYO team or the Syracuse basketball or beyond with the Olympics or something along those lines that he's been a part of as well. He's just got a legendary career. He's molded so many people into just great people. It's a great brotherhood that comes out of Syracuse, and we tend to stick together pretty well when it comes down to it, as far as Syracuse alum, as Ashley, I'm sure you felt around the Capital District and that whatnot. But no, as far as memories with Coach Boeheim, I think the one thing I've been thinking a lot about this because Coach Boeheim retires, the team makes the tournament any year. I always get the phone calls. So how am I going to respond to Coach Boeheim retiring after 47 years? All I can say is over 47 years, if he taught any of the other players on his teams what he taught me, they're going to find success in their lives. Because the number one thing that I remember developing over 4 years at Syracuse was this determination that when you walked onto any basketball court, you were supposed to and should have the mindset that you're going to win. And take any profession, take any career that you choose to go down, and if you have that same mindset walking into it, I'm not saying be cocky, but you're going to be successful. Guess what? The self-fulfilling prophecy is you're going to be successful. And that was something that Coach I remember a conversation I had with him about, hey, Coach, you think we're going to win? I never think we're not going to win, Craig. He said it more like, I never think we're going to win, Craig. Don't ever think of that way. But you get what I'm saying.
I love that.
That's a good impression.
That was really good, actually. Yeah.
Thank you. I practiced for 4 years straight and pulled it out of my my pocket here for today.
Who has been caught doing an impression of Coach Boeheim by Coach Boeheim? Has anybody been caught in the act?
I don't know. I'm sure over the years he's and I'm sure there's been some guys that have a lot more get out there and do it in public for him. I'm sure they've done it right to his face. The roast roast world that we live in, I'm sure that people have said some things and done that. So I just add a little snort and go a little nasally, and life's good.
All right, I want to get back to something you said. There's a group chat from this 2003 national championship team. How many guys are on it, and what is it listed as in your phone?
It's 2003. It's all the players. I think there might be a couple of people that aren't there that either were walk-ons or weren't affiliated managers, that type of thing. But it's 12 of us at this point. And like I said before, Queth Dwaney came up with the whole idea to get us all together. And I think the common sentiment in the conversation that we're having at this point is 20 years is too long to wait before we all get back together again. So, we're all, one of them said, I'm not going to tell you who, but one of them was like, oh, so we should probably get together, within the next 5 years before we all get super old and can't remember anybody anymore. So yeah, I feel like I'm already halfway there, but we're working on it.
When is the last time you've watched that game back?
Ooh.
Did you watch it on the 20th anniversary? Like, have you watched it this year?
No. Actually, the last time I watched the game in its full, there was a watch party during the pandemic. I think it was right when the pandemic started.
Yes, I remember this.
And everybody was sitting there at their home computers or whatever they were doing, and on the Zoom chat that everybody was part of. And so yeah, we watched it all the way through at that point. But that's really, I've watched snippets. I've watched a few different things. Obviously, every time the tournament comes on, you see Hakeem skying out and that type of thing. So it's a classic game, and that's a classic moment. But in terms of turning on around my house, my kids could care less. So it's like, can we please watch Descendants, or can we please watch Bluey? And it's like, you don't want to watch Daddy 20 years ago, much thinner, probably more handsome. Like, no. So they're not interested in that. So I don't get to watch it very often.
Dad life.
Let me hit you with a little trivia here. You this part but I want to educate people who don't know it. You started every single game of your career at Syracuse, 136 of them. Incredible. That's right. Now, you were the first Syracuse men's basketball player to ever do something.
You'll know this.
Do you know what it is?
First Syracuse basketball player to ever do something. It better be funny, Chris.
No, it's not.
It's not. You are the first.
It's not basketball
ever
related.
Multiple academic All-American in Syracuse men's basketball history.
That was a long time ago. Yeah.
Craig, listen, I remember being,
good,
even
man.
in high school and in college, I remember it being like, oh my God, Craig Forth is the smartest basketball player that's ever come through here. And it was like, there was never a question. That's how people knew you. Like, he's one of the smartest people we've ever met. Like, that was just who you were. That's how we knew you, which is cool. Is pretty cool.
Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. No, that was 2 years that I'm very, very proud of. And it's one of those things that's really what, instead of just, the national championship and what when it comes to my kids and developing them and making them into better people, I'm not that smart. I just work my tail off. That's really what it turns into, and as far as learning new knowledge and getting to know different things, I've had so many different jobs. I've taken so many different classes in college and other areas. And it's like, again, go back to Boeheim's idea. If you apply yourself and you think you're going to be successful, you're going to be successful. So that has, like I said, that served me well. And I am very, very proud that my name is up on in the Syracuse Walk of Fame out there as the 2-time recipient of that. So it's been between those, I think those 2 awards, and then there was the Big East Scholar Athlete of the Year from the nation, from the conference, all that. Those 3 things are probably what I'm most proud of, besides winning a national championship. So
Craig, we also have this in common. Your degree from Syracuse, or degrees, are in what?
Let's see. I have a degree in inclusive education, which includes elementary and special education. And I also have a degree in geography.
I also have a degree in geography. It wasn't my first, that wouldn't be what I consider my first degree. That would be broadcast journalism. But when I read that, I thought, Craig Forth and I both have a degree in geography from Syracuse University.
Who do you think had the better GPA in geography?
Probably Craig.
Yeah.
Definitely you.
I don't know. It'd be tight. I was a good student.
Ashley was a very good student. Okay.
You're probably
Ashley,
better at geography than I was, to be very, very honest with that. It was funny because I picked and we were told, I don't know if you were the same way with journalism. We were told at the beginning of our careers to actually pick, if we were going to go through the inclusive education program, you had to pick this second major, as it were, the second 30 credits you had to go through. And I said, which one has the least amount of writing? And they threw geography at me. So now it's funny because now 20 years later, writing is one of my favorite things to do. So
that's awesome. Ash always gets final word, but I got a couple more things here, Craig, before Ash has that opportunity here. Your family business will, I don't want to say forever be on the campus of Syracuse University, but you've left another indelible mark at Syracuse University. The floor at the Mello Center is a fourth sport floor?
It is. It is.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Yeah, we've actually done a number of the floors on Syracuse campus. My father had. I'll boast about him for a hot minute. He's been part of the flooring industry for the past 50 years, and well before I ever held a basketball, he had me holding a paintbrush, painting a line on a gym floor. So it's been in the family for years. He has perfected it. He's absolutely, I have learned so much from him over the years. He's passed so much of it down to my brother and I, my brother Brian. We're actually currently in the throes of taking over the business, and we've done the Carmelo Anthony Center, which actually I was a principal at the time when they did the Carmelo Anthony Center, but Murray and Brian and the gang were all out there. But I think we've done some of the women's volleyball courts out there. We've done the old Archibald. Everything's changed out there at this point. So if I'm saying names that don't make any sense to you at this point, but we did the Archibald gyms, anything out there, they seem to like calling us, and we're producing a pretty decent product out there for them. So kudos to my dad, and kudos to the guys that have been before me that are now I'm working with alongside every day. But it's been an adventure. It's nice to, and our headline, our letterhead for our papers that we send out says the builders of the Carmelo Anthony Center. So
that's cool.
I know my father's very, very proud of that. And it's nice to be, at least have a little bit of something done at the Carmelo Anthony Center that has to do with us.
That's awesome. Craig, I recently had a birthday, and
well, happy birthday.
Thank you. This is what I got for my birthday from friends of ours. There you
Fantastic. There I am.
It's an awesome poster.
Pretty cool.
I wish I had one.
You want mine?
No, I would never take a birthday gift. No, thank you.
You can have it. I'm gonna try and frame it. We've got a little bit. I'm not gonna call it a man cave because it's our sports memorabilia room. But I'm gonna try and frame it. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna bring it to you first. I'll have you sign it, and then I'll frame it.
I like that.
Awesome. Happily, anytime you want.
Craig, this was fun. I know Ashley absolutely loved this.
Yes.
It's obviously right up her alley. We can't tell you how much we appreciate the time on short notice. And maybe when stuff like this comes around, you're like, oh God, again, I'm talking, but hopefully you enjoy the trip down memory lane as much as we do. And I know as much as our viewers do. So thank you, man. Enjoy the games this March.
Well, thank you very much. I will say from the trips down memory lane have been interesting over the past 20 years, but now it's like, it's kind of looking back. It's like, we really did something back then that not a lot of teams are able to do. And the hope is that Syracuse can once again find the ability to get down the road and pull out another championship. But I really appreciate you reaching out. It's never a bother. I really enjoy talking to you guys, and hope everything's well.
Thanks, Craig. Be
Thank
good.
you, man.
The Albany FireWolves professional indoor lacrosse team invites you to join us on Saturday, March 25th at 7 p.m. as we take on the Toronto Rock for Star Wars Night. Post-game autographs right on the turf, featuring members of your Albany FireWolves. Get your tickets now at albanyfirewolves.com. Join the pack.
And now back to Onorato Company, sponsored by Alpen House.
All right, you guys know the deal. I'm not a Syracuse fan the way Ashley is, but that was cool. It was cool for me anyway, that's for sure. We still have Follow the Pack, the Albany FireWolves, to come here on the show. You've submitted some of your Final Fours. I love that. Let me run them in here. Ryan's got San Diego State, Marquette, Houston, and Gonzaga, Houston to win it all. Love that. Okay. I like this comment from Sam as well on Aaron Rodgers, motivated to play with a different team. No doubt. This is drafting Jordan Love all over again. He feels spurned and doubted and maybe not appreciated 100%. I think Aaron Rodgers plays really well for the New York Jets this coming season. Okay. Another quick timeout here on Onorato and Company. When we come back, the star of Hamilton, Pierre Jean Gonzalez, with us.
Teams, athletes, organizations. We're transforming the custom apparel industry through product and purpose. Claim your crown.
And now back to Onorato Company, sponsored by Alpen House.
Welcome back to Onorato and Company. There is really probably only one thing this week that could pull us away from talking about the NCAA tournament, March Madness, and the brackets. And that is an iconic, generational musical like Hamilton, Ash.
Yeah, coming to Proctor's Theater. I mean, listen, the Capital Region has been buzzing. The entire country has been buzzing about this musical for years now at this point. But the Capital Region gets Hamilton here. Fans, I know so many people who were like scrambling to get tickets. It was as soon as they came out. So yes, I know people are very excited about it.
Yeah. Now, oh, by the way, we have the star of the show. That's not so bad, huh? Pierre Jean Gonzalez, who will play Hamilton in this production, coming to the main stage at Proctor's. Pierre, it's Chris, it's Ashley, the NBC in Albany, and welcome to upstate New York, where middle of the March snowstorms cancel performances.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, we're so excited to be here. This has been a little bit of a shakeup, but also a little bit of a blessing. We get to rest for a day, the crew gets to rest for a day, but we are so excited to be here in Schenectady and to be able to bring this production really to New York. I'm a New Yorker at heart. I actually grew up a little bit for a couple of years up in Middletown, New York. So I've been upstate. I've really, really enjoyed just being able to bring this show, something that I love so much, to my home state.
Pierre, you've done television. We see your resume. You've done television. You obviously have done a lot of theater. What is it about this musical? And just, do you feel lucky to be a part of something like Chris called it a generational thing? Like it is a musical of a generation. Yeah,
no. I mean, I'm still like in such shock and awe that I'm even able to be able to play this pivotal and just epic character. What I'm very lucky about is like this company specifically, which is the Philip Touring Company. I've been a part of this company now for, I want to say 4 years. I started off as a standby and understudy. So I got to cover Hamilton, Burr, and the King. And just having that experience of being an understudy was so magical. And then I was able to take over, and my debut date for Hamilton was March 2020. Let that settle into your spirit. Let that settle into your spirit. I was supposed to debut as Hamilton. I want to say it was like March 27th, 2020, right? So I took off a couple of weeks before I was going to debut. So I went home. I'm like looking around. I'm like, what's happening? I'm like, oh, things are oh, everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. 1 month turned into 18 months.
Yeah.
And me and my fiance, Cedric Leber Jr., we actually came together and we created a production company called Dominican Productions in that time, in our own kind of sense of not just distracting us from what was happening in the world, but also trying to like create something that belonged to us and gave representation for people that look like us, right? So I used the Hamilton money that I saved. We were supposed to get married. So we both like made a decision. We were like, let's take this money and let's invest in something and let's do something. So we created the company and it's been thriving and we're so lucky. And now, it's been now about like a year and a half that we've been back since the pandemic, and it's still just a dream. It's still just a freaking dream. And I'm just so lucky to be able to be a part of this.
So we have that in common. You and your fiance, you and he created this company. Ashley and I are married. We work together. We were supposed to get married in June of 2020. So we pushed that until May of 21. We got some parallels here.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we married yet? You and Cedric?
We're not actually. Okay. So what ended up happening is, we came back to I came back on tour and I was like, let's, and the company just started snowballing. Mm-hmm. Like it was just one thing after another. I'm doing this show. Cedric is actually a performer as well. So he was filming a movie. He was doing readings. We were doing this. And it was just like these great things were happening. And like, still our parents are like, excuse me.
Yeah.
Where's the wedding? When are you getting married? You know what I mean? We've been together now for 7 years. That is my life partner. I love him to death. And we're now having the conversation of like, okay, we got to do this because everybody's annoying us. Like,
let me tell you something.
Off our back.
That is the ultimate reason you just do it, to put a lot of it behind you. Yeah.
And we want to have a beautiful big, we want to have people there. And the one thing I always said, I was like, I don't want anybody wearing a mask. So if we have to wait a little bit, you know what I mean? If people want to wear, because you want to wear it for yourself, but like, I don't want pictures with matching masks with the colors. No, I don't want to see it. So
there are enough Italian noses in my family that wearing the mask wasn't always the worst thing in pictures.
So this was the best part. Everyone else had to wear masks, but we didn't.
That's true.
At least at the church.
I love it.
After that, all bets were off.
All bets are off after that.
Let's dive into this show, man. You have toured the country. You have been so gracious with your time with multiple media outlets as you make those stops around this country. And now we are thrilled that you're on this show. So the show will run March 15th through March 26th. That show that was supposed to be the opener on the 14th pushed to Sunday. We'll get all that out of the way, right? Okay.
Yeah. Sunday night.
So what is this experience like, man? I mean, to play the role that was made so famous with just an incredible original cast that took Broadway by storm.
I mean, it's amazing. I think what's really beautiful about Hamilton, just this musical, the show, period, it doesn't matter who you are. It allows everybody to really bring themselves to the characters. I'm so honored that I'm able to even play this role. Somebody like Lin-Manuel, who created this, you know what I mean? I come into it as like honoring the people who have been there before me. And it feels like a brotherhood. It feels like a community of family. You know what I mean? There's no malice. There's no like everybody trying to like fight each other for the role. Like, me and my understudies and people who cover me, we are all Hamilton. Cool. All the people that come in and out of this world, this Hamil universe that I like to call it. You know what I mean? Once you do it, you're part of the family forever, and you feel that. You feel that in the show. You feel that in the community. And then also, it's just I'm still shocked at how much people still are just in awe of seeing the show. And, I love it because I love hip hop music. I grew up in the Bronx, New York. So hip hop for me was part of my DNA. It was part of how I was raised, So when I see every night it's a packed house, I still am like, I'm so grateful and fortunate to be part of something that is still in such demand, right? And yeah, you know, this was actually truthfully one of my first big musicals. Before that, I was very big into like TV film, like you said. And like, for me, I loved picking up like just scripts, like regular plays. Like that was my thing. So when I found this, I got to study Shakespeare at the Globe Theater for a year. And that was a really epic, amazing experience of my life. And it kind of like shook me. And it was one of the hardest experiences I've ever done. But I always say that Hamilton for me is my own personal Shakespeare. That's what it feels like. It feels like it was made for me. The cadences and the rhythm and the storytelling. It's still, I go up there every day, and at Yorktown, if you see me up there tearing up, that's Pierre tearing up. Like, this is so cool that I get to do this every day, you know?
Pierre, did you study Lin-Manuel and how he did Hamilton, and how are you making it different than maybe something he did while still using some of his inspiration?
Oh, absolutely. Baby, I was listening to the album, watching all the everything, and just throwing myself in it. And again, like I said, what's really beautiful about the show is that it allows you to be yourself. The minute that you try to be something else, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You have to bring yourself to the piece. And I think for me specifically, I bring my Bronx culture. I bring that New Yorican experience that I grew up with. And I grew up, and I bring my love of acting, my love of that moment to moment work, and really storytelling and making it about the other people and not making it about myself. Yes, the show is called Hamilton and it's about this guy, but it's about all the work that he was doing to create change around him. You know, and I thank God that I have such an amazing ensemble, the dancers and movers who actually create the space and make the words that I'm saying, they are actively moving and kind of expressing it through dance. You have these amazing 3 sisters who are singing their hearts out to me every single day. You know what I mean? The Sons of Liberty who are behind me, pushing me. And then you have Burr, who's always trying to fight me. You know what I mean? So it's such an amazing piece, and it allows every individual actor, to really express themselves and bring themselves fully to the character.
I love that the way this is presented resonates with you. I grew up on 90s hip hop. Ash will tell you that's like my bread and butter. You being in the Bronx and that culture, forget about it. That would be right up.
It's in the music, you know what I mean? Like it's where we all grew up. It's that generation who grew up with that 90s, early 2000s. Like it comes from all of that, you know, from where hip hop was created. It has everything. You have all different types of artists that are in there. There's certain raps that I'm rapping. I'm like, wow, this is Busta Rhymes. Wow, this is Eminem. Wow, this is like, you know what I mean? This is Method Man, or this is like all these different rappers that Lynn and Alex and Lack put into the show. And it's, for me, it's just so special. It feels special. It feels like it's connected to my childhood. You know what I mean? So I know you understand and you feel that.
Proctors.org, best way to get tickets. Here's such a cool thing that is happening in Schenectady, and it was happening a couple other places along this tour as well. There's a digital lottery where you could go see this show for $10, which is insane. If you go to hamiltonmusical.com, click on Ham for Ham on that lottery drop down and enter to be eligible to get a $10 ticket to see this incredible show. It's amazing. Ash, I always give you final word.
Yeah.
Before I do that, let me just wrap a little bit here with Pierre Jean. You played Oberon in Midsummer Night's Dream. Yeah. I played King Theseus in a Glen Rock High School production way back in the day.
Okay. All right.
My man likes to think he can sing. He can sing a little bit.
Everybody can sing.
He can sing a little bit. He sings better than I do.
No singing in that Shakespeare production. That's for sure. Not from.
No, I know.
No.
So Pierre, when I was reading your resume, and I mentioned this to Chris, I'm not going to get the name right because I don't have it in front of me. But when you were overseas and you studied at the Globe, you also got a certificate or something in the way of combat fighting, sword fighting, and something else. And I read that and I thought, this is the most unbelievably unique thing I've ever read. Yeah. Can you please tell me what that is?
we had to get certified for dagger, and sphere. That was like a dagger and sphere certification where we learned how to duel, and we learned how to use the dagger, and then we also had to learn how to use the sphere. And we would like fight, and we had to do fight choreography, and then we got certified by the end of it. Because a lot of the Shakespeare shows, they would do fights. So like that was just something that everybody had it.
It's fascinating.
So even for us, when we got there, we were like, wait, you want us to what? You sure? I was like, okay, cool.
What do I have to sign? Yeah, okay.
Well, on your day off, we have made you use your voice enough. Pierre Jean Gonzalez, the star of the show, as Hamilton comes to Proctor's Theater in Schenectady. It is a beautiful facility. If you haven't been on stage there, we know you will absolutely love it, and people who come to see it will certainly leave with rave reviews. Pierre Jean, thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much for having me. Again, congratulations, guys. And
thank you.
Thank you.
Happiness is found in simple things. The sun on your face, sharing laughs, at the campground, getting wet, relaxing together, the love of family. There's never been a better time to go outside and play. Alpenhaus Pool Spa Boat and RV, bringing families together and creating memories since 1964.
You've heard of unsung heroes. The men and women of Naiskoba are the unseen heroes. For the past year, you've learned about our many charitable endeavors. Now it is my privilege to share with you the work performed by our members, the 20,000 state correction and law enforcement officers shielded from view. They work in difficult and dangerous conditions and are an extension of the police who protect our neighborhoods. Naiskoba honors New York's police and firefighters and salutes its own members who help deliver a peaceful night's sleep.
And now back to Onorato Company, sponsored by Alpenhaus.
Back on Onorato Company, yes, indeed. And we are ready to go into our weekly segment, which we love to do here every single week during this lacrosse season. And that is called Follow the Pack with the Albany FireWolves. And I have bad news for Coach Clark, who is our guest this week. He is stuck with just me. As we run a little bit of overtime here, let's bring Coach Glenn Clark into the conversation on Onorato Company. Coach, it's good to see you, man. I feel like we're on a Clarky basis by now, are we not?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah,
how long does it take somebody to get to just call you Clarky?
I think you can do it right off the hop. I mean, it's basically what everyone does around the rink anyway. So yeah, it's you don't need a duration for it. You can come right up with it.
All right, perfect. The head coach is Glenn Clark, but he's more than that. And that's what we're going to jump into here, Coach, with you anyway, is this season that is just evolving from a roster standpoint for this Albany FireWolves squad. You made a couple of moves in the last week. This is a lot to juggle, to coach a team and to still kind of piece together a roster, isn't it?
It is, and it's been an unusual year, certainly the most unusual of my career. Going back to the summer, really, when we've had a couple of bad cycles of free agency where we've lost some key pieces and made a real conscious pivot to become, a little bit more of a draft-based team, build through the draft. And we were successful. We got some good players, some good picks, but with the COVID year, they're still another year away. So we knew it was going to be a little bit of sort of a retool and a refining year and giving some young guys opportunities to sort of see where they are on a move forward basis. And I think for the most part, it was going well. And then, we did get a little chipped away by injuries and had some lineups that weren't what we expected moving forward. So, you have these dips every once in a while. It's been a bit of a grind. And then, I see on the banner there a couple of the trades we made, and that was in reaction to where we're at. Marshall Palace, great young player. But I mean, I'll let you ask about them and
no, go for it.
So Marshall was a former 7th overall pick and a very young guy at the time because he wasn't one that had the 4 years of college. Right. So he's still a young guy. He's actually younger than guys that will be coming out in this draft. So lots of upside, real high pick, lots of skill. We're familiar with him from junior back in Canada. So again, we weren't going to make any moves that weren't move forward moves, pieces that we thought could build young skill upside moving forward with, into next year and certainly beyond. And then Greg Downing, again, another veteran guy. Teams are looking for those types of players. When they call, I approach the player and tell them, look, you've earned this right. If you would like to make a move and have an opportunity. And Greg had some familiarity with the Toronto people, and we got a second round pick out of it. So it was, it's good draft equity for us. And it's a good opportunity for Greg, and he's a free agent after the fact. So, he gets to decide what he wants to do after the end of the season.
And it won't be all that long that you get to see Greg again, because you'll play the Toronto Rock in your next home game. That's March 25th at 7 o'clock. You guys have already seen the commercial in this show for that game. But the next game, Coach, is against the New York Riptide, a team that you are very close to in the standings. 7:30 this coming Saturday night. And you can always watch those games on My 4 right after Onorato and Company on Saturday nights. Does it make it easier to get up for this game, knowing how close they are in the standings? Or do you find yourself in a difficult season, as you've said, finding new ways to motivate guys, keep them focused, bigger picture than just what has happened so far this year?
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring the focus part up, because that is the challenge. When you're, I don't think mathematically we've been eliminated,
right,
but essentially, it's the writing is on the wall that the playoffs aren't likely this year. So, what does that look like? And one of my messages to the group is you can't have sort of this scepter of doom of what if we lose? What if we don't win again? What if we, because it's too ominous a feeling. So we simplify it. We break it into small chunks, and right now we've got them going, there's a couple messages. One is remember why you play, and be an athlete and discover that route again. And the other reality is, we're playing for what's next. I mean, it is a little bit of a showcase and experience. We had two players last game who'd never played a game before in the NLL in our lineup. And we're going to have Marshall this weekend, who's never played for us, but is a very young player. So it's an opportunity to assess the cupboard, see what you have, see what are the moving forward pieces with us, and gives those players an opportunity that they likely wouldn't have had without the injuries and the position we are in the standings.
All right, Coach, I will let you run. I appreciate you doing this on short notice, although it wasn't my fault this time. And always joining the show when you manage to have the time. I hope I'll see you on the 25th. I've been fortunate enough to be part of some of these games and the great ceremonies that this franchise puts on to welcome in and include the community here in the 518. Clarky, thank you, man. I appreciate the time, buddy.
No, anytime, Chris. That's great. Anytime.
That is Glenn Clark, the head coach of the Albany FireWolves here on Onorato and Company. Hey, how about one last Final Four prediction? San Diego State getting love this week. Marquette, Houston, Gonzaga. Houston wins it all. Okay. Well, I just have one thing to say, everybody. Enjoy the games. Enjoy what we all consider to be two of the best sports day ever.